account. Just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. How is everyone? Hello, Angela. Hello, Tap. Hello, Psych and Crime. Hello, Cookie. It's been a long day. And Hank Brennan this morning gave about as perfect as an opening statement as I've seen in a case, certainly, with a few mistakes here and there. We'll talk about that. A few little mistakes. And as and I thought, as I'm watching this, I'm getting more and more hopeful for the O'Keefe family and that we'll see some real justice for John O'Keefe as the day's going on. But then Carrie Roberts took the stand. And I started to just get this gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach. And it started with looking at crosses. And my interest in true crime, the area of true crime that I study innocence fraud cases. And I've been looking and sometimes have been a part of opposing so many innocence fraud cases. Often I lose, meaning the innocence fraud case wins, as did Adnan Syed. It didn't mean he's a convicted killer, but he got out of prison just on total fraud. Nothing but a total fraud. He's a convicted killer with time served. Julius Jones got his death sentence repealed at the last minute because of a call from Kim Kardashian to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump called the governor, and now he's doing a life sentence instead of having paid the price that the original jury had hoped he'd pay. So, I've watched so many of these. I've studied so many of these. The West Memphis 3, same thing, got out of prison. That I got in late. When they got out of prison, I was actually not familiar with innocence fraud and thought that the information I got from these quote-unquote documentaries, really more like propaganda films where killers were accurate. But so I was happy when they got released. It wasn't until later when I actually started reading the trial transcripts and the court documents and recognizing how much had been left out of those quote unquote documentaries. So, I mean, those are just a few of the cases that I've looked at. Amanda Knox, been a part of. I've also covered 3 federal trials from the courtroom. So I have a lot of experience in what makes up an innocence fraud campaign and how it works. And what are the key elements of an innocence fraud campaign is taking the minutia and blowing it up and making it really important. So when you are opposing, and this is why I've been so critical of the Justice for John O'Keefe website and what's up there, and really been very disappointed that it's not a very useful counter narrative to the innocence fraud propaganda. What is useful is having a really accurate timeline, having really accurate counter information. And what Hank Brennan has communicated in this first day, and I don't want to be too doom and gloom because this is not it. This is not the end. This is just how I'm feeling now watching this trial. I'm feeling that the innocence fraud campaign is way too powerful, and it does not matter that Karen Read is obviously so obvious, guilty as sin, that we may get another hung jury. We may get we may get a conviction. That conviction may be overturned in cross, or we could get a full acquittal. I'm not seeing a conviction of, I find it really hard to see that a future with a conviction that will stay with Karen Read, because I feel this innocence fraud campaign that is so well funded that our media so supports, most of our media so supports, will go on and on and on and on. So when Carrie Roberts started talking about her time and the time that Karen called her back, when she said, I think John's been hit by a plow, was Karen Read out driving around? Did she see a plow? Is that where she got the idea? And when Alan Jackson which looks like he's going to cross-examine Carrie Roberts, he's going to exploit all these time inconsistencies. And we've never had an accurate record of Karen Read's calls to Carrie Roberts in the public domain. So I am just putting out it's like an SOS to my audience. This is like really important. Listen up. If there is anyone in my audience who can get a message out to anyone who's close to the family, close to anyone in the Team Commonwealth, please implore Hank Brennan to get out an accurate timeline of those calls to Carrie Roberts into the public domain. Otherwise, what this innocence fraud campaign will do will say, oh, well, Carrie Roberts says it's this, and we can prove that she didn't call it this time. Doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. We all know that Karen Read killed John O'Keefe, excuse me. But for this innocence fraud campaign, it's hugely important. All these details are hugely important because these minute details will be blown up, exploited, and then they'll say, well, Carrie Roberts lied about this, or she was incorrect, or she couldn't remember right, so she can't remember right about anything. And you saw what today, if you were watching the trial on my channel, Hank Brennan started a brilliant opening, no notes, and he started with the EMT firefighter Nuttall and making him the hero and following him. And then he gets up on the stand with Alan Jackson and Cross. And he's just a very sincere guy, not a professional witness, right? Just a human being. And Alan Jackson did his very much like, if anybody's seen the movie Chicago, tap dancing for the jury. How many fingers do I have up? 2, 3, like these little tricks. Here's a video, but it's not time stamped. I have to go back and see whether this was 2 video. At one point, it seemed like they were saying there were 2 different videos, and then Alan Jackson was saying it was the same video. It's hard to know what was going on there. Hank Brennan was saying that they were different videos, sounded like. Then Alan Jackson was saying they were the same video, except that one was time stamped and one wasn't. Exactly what was going on. But all that will be exploited. And I thought it was very effective at the end of that cross, So this is what I'm saying. I'm going to repeat myself like Alan Jackson does with his neurolinguistic programming. It's very important. Get out those Kerry Roberts calls from Karen Reed, the correct timing into the public domain, into the court record. It doesn't seem important to Hank Brennan because he does not know this movement the way I do. This is the thing I know. I know Innocence Rod like the back of my hand. It is so important that he get out these, be accurate with his information and get it out into the court record. We've already seen this organization, Five Stones, come in and do this quote unquote independent audit where their timeline is all over the place and incorrect. And people think, oh, that's from a reputable company of experts. They wouldn't be wrong with their timeline, but it's wrong. Hugely wrong. Parts are hugely wrong, off by, significant, sometimes a little time, sometimes big chunks of time. So that's also, I just want to say one more time, if anyone knows anyone close to the Commonwealth, please, let's get these calls out into the record, into the public domain. It's very important because this innocence fraud campaign, if you think it's going to end, if Hank Brennan gets a conviction for even a small charge in this case, Karen Reed's innocence campaign will not end with her conviction. It will go on and they will work. Alessi works in appeals and they're going to appeal this case and by picking at the minutia. Right after court today, we had a hearing about ARCA. Now, if you haven't been following it, ARCA was presented in the first trial as independent witnesses hired by the FBI. Turned out that they were getting Hank Brennan dropped when he finally got discovery from the defense that they were getting paid. They were retained, paid for. Their testimony was crafted by the defense. Looks like they asked ARCA in this trial to do more tests that came out, more tests that will come out with the kind of answers that they want. But they have no discovery to hand over, no communications to hand over. So there was a hearing about that at the end of trial where they turned off the cameras. One channel had it up. I was watching it. And again, Friday, the defense lost that motion, and the ARCA witnesses are still going to be allowed to testify, even though the Commonwealth hasn't been allowed to prepare for them at all, with a voir dire done on Friday. My feeling is that Hank Brennan has something up his sleeve, because Alessi was saying in this hearing, we text messaged with these ARCA witnesses. We don't have to preserve those text messages, which would be highly irregular. She's like, well, you do, because Karen Reed is your client and it's something related to your client. You have to preserve it for 7 years. And they said, well, not text messages, just emails, which looks like that. I mean, were they communicating on an encrypted app? What's going on? So I think Friday may be a real, I don't know. Hank Brennan knows something, I have a feeling, and something big may be dropped Friday. That's just my sense. I could be wrong, and nothing will be dropped, and he may just destroy these witnesses and cross, but he just seems to know that there's something more than these text messages that they haven't handed over. So we'll see what happens Friday. I think that will be curious. Back to Nuttall, the EMT firefighter, and his testimony. I mean, he made a lot of unbelievable testimony that said Karen Reed said, I hit him 3 times. Last time he testified, she said it 2 times. And he says his memory is better now than it was a year ago, which is hard to believe. I mean, all these things that defense attorneys, bait you into saying. And right after that was given, I just want to show you how Hank Brennan's going to be using Karen Reed's own statements against her. Hold on 1 minute.
Did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it? Did I hit him? I know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it?
Did I really say it as many times as law enforcement? He just played that clip. I know I said it, but did I really say it as many times? So that pulled the rug out of Alan Jackson's cross-examination. Because there's Karen Reed. It doesn't matter if you aren't already propagandized by the Innocence Fraud campaign. It doesn't matter how many times she said it. She's admitting she said, I hit him. I hit him. Doesn't matter if she said it twice or 3 times. She's saying she said, I hit him. So there goes that. I thought that was very effective. And I think that was an outtake from the ID Discovery TV show. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet for today. I don't want to be too doom and gloom. We are, you stand against these innocence fraud campaigns because it's the right thing to do, not because you're on the winning side. And I know it's depressing to sit through a 8-week trial and get an outcome that's not what you want. But this is a very, very powerful, powerful campaign. I don't think I've seen a campaign with this is like some of the most evidence I've ever seen against anyone that's been in this trial. The amount of evidence that's against Karen Reed is quite extensive. And yet she has more and more people every day. Nick Rakita, who starved his own children. They found substances in his home, guns. He's going to prison a month, but he's going to be covering this trial from this angle. He promoted Aiden Turtleboy Carney. He's back. So I think that there's more characters than ever, more power on the other side. There was a picture I saw of the press, all with their microphones to Karen Reed, just beaming like they were talking to royalty. And this is the substance of innocence fraud. It is a massive, massive, powerful movement with very dangerous, scary lawyers. And until more people start talking up about it, it will keep continuing to grow, and it will continue to keep making these lawyers and these criminals rich in our civil suits, because the whole point of it is to make it easier for the next person. So they learn things from each other's campaigns. And the other point is that they also want to work on our laws and make it so that we have similar sentencing to Europe, so that we get rid of life without parole for everyone. Already in Pennsylvania, we have Senator Fetterman has been pushing that, getting rid of life without parole. It's a possibility for sentencing for anyone, and really maxing these out at 20 or 30 years. And so the other element is to get rich via books, podcasts, documentaries. And then the other motivation for this movement is to sue in our civil courts, where the bar of evidence is much lower, and get these multi-million-dollar payouts for people who have served 10, 20, 30 years in prison. So this is really this is like a test case. And if this goes over, which it seems like it might go over, for Karen Reed, we'll see more and more of these being done pre-trial instead of post-conviction, which is really the norm for innocence fraud. So that's what I have for today. Please hit the thumbs up, support the channel, share this episode, leave me a comment. I read all of your comments and really get so much out of them. Send me a Venmo, buy me a coffee, become a Patreon member, get exclusive content access to exclusive content. And I will be back tomorrow morning for day 2 of the Karen Read trial, and then back again at 6. So have a great night, everyone. See you tomorrow.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident. But with lying lawyers, I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin, making money. Truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen. Like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet. Yeah. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident. But with lying lawyers, I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin, making money. Truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen. Like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet. Making